Good morning. Sly Johnson lived out in Phoenix, Arizona. When she was 16 years old, she was a sophomore in high school, and she began having a real problem. Her head was not growing as fast as her body. And because of that, it was causing some mental challenges. I mean, she could still think and talk and was very mobile, but you could tell it was starting to cause some challenges. And now when she came home from school, every day she was crying. She was crying not because of her physical disorder, but she was crying because of the way she was being treated by other kids at school. Kids had really started calling her all kinds of names, poking fun at her, laughing at her. Kids were now stealing her lunch. They were throwing trash at her. I mean, just all kinds of horrible things to be bullying this young girl. Well, her mother was just distraught beside herself that her child was being bullied every day and she's now struggling with this physical disorder. And she was trying to figure out what to do, and she finally decided to call this kid named Carson Jones. She called Carson because she knew he was very involved at his church. He also happened to be the quarterback of the football team. And she called Carson and said, "Could you help me figure out who is bullying my daughter so I can do something about it?" But Carson said, "I'll do far better than that." So the next day, he asked Sly to have lunch with him. He sat with her during the lunchroom. Nobody stole her lunch. Nobody was throwing anything at her. He went to the rest of the football team and he said, "This is not right, what's happening to her. And so what I want us to do is I want us to figure out her class schedule and who has a class schedule like hers, and can we walk her from class to class so kids can't pick on her." They then figured out who on the team had her in a class so they could sit with her and make sure, again, kids were not harassing her and calling her names. They then made sure who would be available at the end of the day to make sure that she could leave and be able to go home without people throwing trash at her. And that's what they did. And so with all of these boys on the football team now standing up to be there for Sly, she was able to go to school, eat her lunch, do her classes, and not be bullied, have her lunch stolen, having people throw things at her. You see, Carson Jones believed that as a Christian, it wasn't just enough to say, "I'm not going to do these things to her." He felt it was his responsibility to step up and make sure that things weren't going to happen to her if that's what was taking place. And I couldn't help but think, that really is our calling as people of faith. It is good that you and I make the decision we're going to treat people with respect and we're not going to do those kind of things. But I believe Jesus expects something more. That when you and I see other people being treated poorly, bullied, laughed at, talked about, then we are called to be the people who make sure that that doesn't happen. That everybody is treated with respect. I believe that's what it means to love your neighbor, no exception. Let God use you today to not only have a great day, but help someone else have a great day as well.